This is the AKAI or AKAI or AKAI, however you want to pronounce it, VS-303U VHS VCR. This is not a hi-fi stereo VCR. It is a mono VCR. And from our research online, discovered that it was made around 1986 or 1987. And it has, some interesting features, and as we'll see in a little bit, it has quite an interesting array of electronics on the inside. One of the first things I noticed about it is how heavy this thing is. Although it's not much bigger than most VCRs, it weighs probably 30 to 40 pounds, I'm going to guess. I haven't actually weighed it, but it's a heavy little booger. I've got it propped up on a tape here so we can kind of see the front a little bit better. Starting left to right here, we've got a function button and a timer button. Down here we have a picture sharpness and softness. It's a selector switch versus an actual potentiometer. We have a TV VCR button here. We have a standby light here. We have our SPLP speed. Now, interestingly enough, it says on the front here that it's 3-speed, but apparently it only records with 2 of them. Has an infrared detector here, very prominently displayed, so you're not going to mistake where your infrared detector is. It's right there in that little window. We have a tape view light here, let me say it this way. It's a tape view switch that controls a light on the inside, and I'll show you that here in a minute. There is your channel display here, which I think is burned out. I have not seen anything displayed on there since I turned the unit on. We'll move over to the right a bit, and we'll see that there's some buttons across the front. Now, this isn't your stop, play, rewind, or fast forward. This is program, and then you have clock and preset, and then you have A, B, C, D labels on those buttons, and then channel select, fine tune and tracking, display select, and counter reset. Then we also have a return to 0000 button, which apparently makes the unit rewind back to that spot. And over here we have play, rewind, fast forward, stop, pause, still, and record. There are no inputs on the front of the VCR. And the VCR itself is a little bit on the beat up side. You can see that there's a dent on the back left corner right there. So the unit itself does work, but it's really slow and clunky, although it's really not that loud. It's quiet in its operation, but it's just old. It just seems like it's struggling. Anyway, let me go ahead and show you how cool this light feature is in the front. I'll insert our tape and watch as the magic appears before your eyes. And there it is. So there are lights on the inside to illuminate the tape. And you don't really see much else in there other than there's a tape on the inside. There's also this little block thing, this little guide here that pops up that prevents you from putting another tape in there or attempting to put another tape in there once the tape has been inserted. Now if we hit play on the deck, it will turn the light out for you. There it went. But with the tape view button over on the left, I can hold the button down at any moment and see the tape on the inside. Kind of cool. So it's light off, light on. Now let's take you inside the unit and see it in operation and see all of its amazing internal circuitry. So I have my tape playing over here on my Radio Shack Pocket Vision monitor, and you can see that there is a bunch of characters all over the display there. I would assume there's some kind of a character generator in here for on-screen display that is malfunctioning, and therefore we're getting what looks like a bunch of little space invaders superimposed over the top of the image. But there is picture and there is sound coming from this unit. And as promised, I'm going to go ahead and show you what is going on the inside of this unit here. So let's just zoom back. Can you believe that it took this much electronics to produce picture and sound back in the day? But yes, it did. It took a lot of wires and moving parts to put a picture from a tape onto your television. This gigantic circuit board here, or you might consider it a motherboard, has a little tiny clip that's over here on the left side. But once you clip that past that and remove a couple of screws, this becomes a lid that pops up and gives you access to all of the printed circuits there on that board. And there are a lot of capacitors, resistors, and integrated circuits on that board. Attached to it are a bunch of wires which take you down into the unit itself to several more circuit boards. You can see there's one here on the left. There's one underneath here, which would be like your power supply. And then over here on the front left is another little circuit board that pulls up and out of the way and allows you to access it. So there's that circuit board there, which I'm not seeing any labeling on it as to what it does or what it is, but it obviously is an important part of the system. So you can see a little bit more of this board underneath, this gigantic one here. This one says PCB servo on it, so this is probably what controls the mechanism of the unit itself. So we're going to go ahead and pop that back down, and then I'll show you the mechanics of the system. I've got my Raiders of the Lost Ark tape in there playing right now. I don't have the sound or the video on though. But you can see the unit just looks old in there. A lot of metal parts and a lot of metal. Gigantic metal spring right there. All kinds of stuff. So another unusual feature that I noticed in here in this unit is there's this little box attached to the carriage, the sled that carries in your tape. And I'm not entirely sure what that does. It may in fact be a switch that tells the unit that the tape has been inserted. But let's zoom in a little bit on the reels here so you can see them moving around. And I didn't have to do anything to this unit to get it going, although it does have an issue where it will quit working after it has been sitting for a while, which is kind of unusual. So let's see if we can do a little fast forwarding here. There it goes. Now that's a fast forward without stopping. And for some reason this unit, the stop button on the front of here doesn't work. Okay, now it's working. I just pushed it a little bit harder. Alright, so let's do a fast rewind, if it'll let us do it. There it goes. And those two lights that I mentioned earlier that allow you to see the tape once it's inserted, there's one there and there's one there. Again, a very cool feature in its day, and I wish more VCRs had that. A lot of professional VCRs had lights on the inside that allowed you to see the tape and the cartridge and mechanics and what have you going on inside of there. Alright, so that's rewind. Very firmly pressing stop, and it doesn't, there it goes. And now let's look at fast forward. So there's fast forward. And then we'll go ahead and hit play again so you can see it load up the tape into the mechanism. Very old school mechanism in there. Kind of reminds me of the inside of one of the first RCA VCRs. In fact, it had this little guide wheel here, weight wheel, I'm not sure exactly what you call it, was metal. And this one happens to be plastic. But very simple mechanism there. And you'll notice that once you hit stop, it pulls the tape away from the head to do its fast forward and rewinding. Whereas a lot of the newer decks keep the tape wrapped around the head for all of the functions, which I think causes more wear on your tape, but what do I know, right? I'm not a VCR engineer. So let's look at it one more time, hitting play. And everything just kind of jumps into gear there. All right, so what does it look like if the tape is ejected? So I'm going to hit stop very firmly. And we'll just push the tape back in, just so you can see how that process works once again. Now, there's another cool thing that I had to take out of here. It's not really, well, I don't know how cool it is. I haven't really seen one of these before, but there's some kind of a, I don't know, a shield of some sort that goes right here. And of course, I had already removed it so we could see the inside here. And you got to move this little thing out of the way. And then there's a screw that attaches there and a screw that attaches here. So I guess maybe something to keep out electrical interference or radio interference, perhaps. Maybe some kind of a way to ground all of that stuff inside there. And then that screw goes on there, and then one here to wrap up the closing up of the mechanism. Lastly, before I let you go, let's take a look at the back panel. Here's that dent I was talking to you about. Somebody obviously added quite a bit of weight to the top of this and busted it. We have an RF out here, channel 3 and 4, our VHF in and out, which is also a little beat up there. We have our UHF in and out, and video in, video out, audio in, audio out. And we'll kind of peer over here to the left, and you'll see that the unit is made in Japan. And so you know the quality is superb. So, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share this video with a friend.